I got my focus on passion and empathy, gaining perspectives, investing, I do believe money and grinding go hand in hand, you will see. I'm working smart, expending my energy, hope that you feeling me. I'm acting differently, you got a friend in me. I'm working hard to try and work smart, no time to complain, it's time to start, we gotta work. Future millionaires.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Future Millionaires. Today we have on David Meltzer, who is the co-founder of Sports One Marketing, host of the Playbook podcast, top 100 business coach, public speaker, 3 times best-selling author, and the list goes on and on. With that being said, and without further ado, David, how you doing today?
I'm awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity to hopefully empower others, to help them with their journey and success, especially during this crazy time.
Yeah, honestly. And that's one thing about your mission that I love is just how you see exponential growth and helping other people. But, you know, today's episode is all about the young listeners. I got a younger listener base here, you know, high school, college age range. And the first thing I want to touch on is really how younger listeners and people in general can shift their perspective from to-do to that get-to-do mentality and really empower themselves and their lives in that way.
Yeah, you know, it's been a valuable lesson as I got older and older, how to have a get-to-do, not a got-to-do attitude. And I think it's the first step is to realize, especially at a young age, that it's just a practice. So everything that I teach and all the things that I do and my thought leader mentors that I have, one of the things that wasn't explained to me when I was young was that all of these things that we perceive to be so positive about our mentors, that they're as hypocritical, as imperfect as you are. They're just farther along in practice. So if you play golf at all and you go out and you see some 75-year-old guy that shoots one over and you're like, how does he do that? Well, I'll tell you how he did it. He practiced for a really long time because he's not a better athlete than you, not at 75. So when you look at a guy like me and you wonder how I'm doing what I'm doing, is that I have an enjoyment of the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential. I practice these types of things. And so when I say I take a situation and number one, I identify it as something I don't like to do, or I feel like I have to do it.
Yeah.
And then I practice finding the light, the love, and the lessons in it. So if I can find some light, some love, or a lesson in it, then I'm able to get to do it, not got to do it. So I did it with taking out the trash. I've done it with driving my kids to their friend's house, with carpooling, the basic things that people don't like to do. I've learned to identify what I don't like to do and then take the time to practice finding the light, love, and lessons in them.
Okay. So with that being said, I feel like it's really easy to look at it from like a conscious standpoint to be like, okay, like this is what I should change. But what do you use to make that change? Do you use like some kind of subconscious practice to kind of really ingrain it into your mind? Or is it just a very like conscious, like focus every single day when it comes up and over time you end up kind of being an expert at it?
A combination of both, right? I use a practical tool called cancel. So whenever I see myself think, say, or do anything negative, I say cancel. I either say it silently in my head or out loud. So that's a pragmatic tool. But on the other side, it's just a matter of time, right? The more awareness I have to the improvement and expansion and acceleration that I want in my own life, the more I can live in truth-based consciousness, the better I'll be. But I always, even still, I'm 52 years old, so a lot older than most of your listeners. I practice this and I call myself out on it with gratitude when I do it, with forgiveness when I don't do it, and accountability at all times to ask myself, what did I do to attract this to myself, and what am I supposed to learn from it?
Yeah, that's awesome. It's great when you hear something like that, because it kind of reminds me that even these great, like life-changing goals are just like other goals and other, opportunities. You just got to put in the time, the work, and literally treat it as if you were training for something, which is, I feel like a lot of people don't do when it comes to their personal development. So
yeah, remember what you just said. Go back, record that, and teach all of your friends that, because that's magic nugget right there, buddy. That's the key to life right there. Just go back and review that as many times as you can.
I appreciate that, David. I'll be sure to review your part as well. I think I'm gonna start saying cancel. I will. I did start the 30-day challenge of gratefulness and saying thank you, which honestly, is similar to the next question here, which is really, how do you ask for help as a young person without seeming annoying? Because I feel like a lot of young people, either they find it uncomfortable, which is something where I'm huge on getting outside your comfort zone. But the main thing is asking for help. A lot of times they just don't want to be annoying, and like everyone's busy, so how do you view that as a young person should really ask for help in a respectful manner while they're still, coming across correctly?
Yeah, two things. One, don't just ask for help. Ask a series of questions. The first series of questions is, how can you be of service of value? Can you do their laundry, watch their kids, clean their car, do anything that you're capable of doing, shadow them. And then also ask a series of questions of, do you know anyone that can help me? You don't necessarily have to ask or to pick the person initially directly to help you. So a softer ask is, in a series of questions, figuring out, hey, do you know one that can help me? A lot of times, the other second part to that is understand that whenever you ask anyone for help, if you read Ben Franklin's autobiography, he'll tell you whenever you ask someone for help, you're giving them an opportunity, and the opportunity to make an investment in you and feel good. I'm talking a lot today. If you hear a little bit of weariness in me, it's because I've been going since 4 a.m. telling people that there is a virus already created that's much more powerful than Corona. It's called the serotonin virus. And the serotonin virus is about happiness. And when we give, serotonin is released in our brain and it makes us happy. The person receiving it, serotonin is released in their brain and it makes them happy. But what makes serotonin the strongest and most powerful virus in the world is the only virus that's spread by witnesses. So if you just witness somebody being happy, if you witness someone giving and receiving, if you witness someone asking to give or asking to receive, it's going to make them happy. And the greatest thing beyond the happiness that's created by serotonin, it actually strengthens your immune system. So not only is it more powerful than the coronavirus, but it strengthens your immune system, so it'll be ineffective on you. So let's everybody remember, you're making somebody happy when you're asking them for help or advice or mentorship. So make more people happy. Ask a series of questions if they know anybody that can help you.
Yeah, that's huge, because I found too that and this is something I recently discussed with Jeff Fenster, who I know you're good buddies with him, and he's always like, mentors, coaches, you can't afford not to have them, and I'm just finding that to be way more true. Like, the more I think I'm smart, and then I realize that not at all as what I originally thought. There's so much I don't know. So yeah, that's huge. Just that humility to ask while approaching it in the correct manner as well. So with that being said, I notice a lot of young people will be on Instagram. They'll follow entrepreneurs. They'll follow even like positive influences, and they have that right. So they're watching the right content. They're consuming the right content, but they're not getting the results, and they're not really implementing that. So from your perspective and opinion, I'm wondering what you think the number one reason why people can consume this correct content but just not get the results that the content is, supposed to impose upon the audience and whatnot. Like, why are they not taking action?
Because the content is implemented for acceleration and growth to be practiced. So what's happening is people are attaching their expectations, their judgments, conditions, and emotions on an outcome in instant gratification. They're not allowing themselves to look and see that acceleration. The number one problem with being young is you can't have the perspective of looking back too far. You may only have been engaged in doing business or entrepreneurship for 1 year, 1 month, or 1 week.
Yeah.
But I see so many people take really good advice and want instant results. That you are getting instant results because you're working within the continuum of the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind. Just to develop a habit takes a minimum of 21 days. True. A minimum of 21 days, determinative upon what your subconscious beliefs are and the 40,000 of the same thoughts you have in the subconscious, and determinative of what your genetics are, your ancestral privilege of DNA, your personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, and addictions. It could take you far more than 21 days. The problem is, what you need to focus in on is enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit, the acceleration and growth. That however long it takes you to get to 25%, it'll be half as long to 50, half as long to 100, half as long to 200, half as long to 800. That's the way it works. So if you're enjoying the growth and enjoying the lessons, don't worry about the outcome. Don't look for it instantly. It'll come. And nobody's an overnight success. Nobody is. You just enjoy that journey. Keep learning the lessons. Don't attach your emotions to an outcome, and you'll be fine.
Awesome. So now we're going to flip that a bit and we're going to attach emotions to something, and that something is selling, right? Which I know that you have a lot of expertise in. So I just want to hear from, David Meltzer himself, key principles for selling, just the evergreen principles that you can apply, especially more so in high ticket sales when there's a little more logic involved.
Yeah. So in selling, to me, it's really easy. Number one thing, especially in high ticket sales, you have to remember credibility. So many times I see people oversell, back end sell, lie, manipulate, or cheat, and they don't even realize that they've killed the sale before they started it. So you have to focus in on your credibility throughout the entire sales process, making sure that you are as close to the truth as you possibly can. 2, emotional attachment. People buy on emotion for logical reasons. So you got to make sure that you have emotional attachment to understand what people are doing today, what they like about it, what they don't like about it. 3 is the math. If you can't quantitatively have 100 to 20 power value exchange, meaning if you can't talk about the reasons, impacts, and capabilities and the numbers that fit behind it so that somebody can come to a mathematical conclusion, quantitative result of can you see any reason why you won't want to move forward, you're not selling. Then 5, which is added lately because of your generation, if you can show impact, sometimes then that can accelerate a sale or grow the value of a sale by showing that it has additional impact, which is why I wrote Compassionate Capitalism. And then 5, the part where everybody gets lost. Most people think sales are about features and benefits. You got to understand and know your features and benefits, but those are just supplementary and supportive of the 4 aforementioned ways to sell. And if you utilize those 5 things in the normal system to thrive, meaning to stimulate interest, to transition interest, to share a vision, manage and develop a vision, you will thrive. And the definition of thriving in sales is when you have managed and developed a sale so well that your customers are selling other customers for you free of charge. That's what creates the exponential growth, especially in high ticket sales.
Love that. So with credibility too, I noticed you said that was one of the most important parts. And I actually remember part of your content talking about how if you have maximized credibility, you basically don't even have to sell. But so with establishing that credibility, would you say the best way to do it is simply to build out your portfolio and have the experience? There's not really, I guess, a hack or a tip to it, or is there a way to kind of position that more so throughout the process?
Three hacks. 1 is practicing the skills of selling, right? Your credibility will be enhanced by saying one thing to people from practicing the skill of selling. I don't know, but I'll find that out for you, right? Too many young people try to talk out of their buppet. And when they're talking out of their buppet, the butt puppet, they lose all credibility. And, so 2 is knowledge. Go ahead and find and acquire and establish the knowledge. So you're practicing the skills, you're acquiring the knowledge through mentorship, through acquisition, etc. And then finally, in order to get maximum credibility, your energy, your frequency, people have to know that you must be what you can be. Guys who are completely behind in what they're selling, they must be what they can be, will always maximize the sale and be not only more efficient and effective, but statistically successful. Yeah,
no, I love that. And that, especially that last part, I feel like can actually overcome a lot of even what you lack in credibility as a young person. If you just have that attitude, at least in my personal life, I have seen that really pay and almost overrule other flaws in my sales process that I've had before. So awesome. And the next thing I want to talk about is something where this has gotten hot later, but I know that you have been on this for a long time, which is meditation and development of the third eye, which I know this is more into the spiritual realm of everything, but we got to show it to the younger listeners. They're going to love it. They're going to learn it.
Yes, awesome, man. Don't get asked that very much, especially in the younger shows. So number 1, meditation is just a form of finding your highest frequency. The idea behind meditation for me is to elevate my awareness. I got stimulated to meditate because my mentor, Dr. Sangeeta Sahi, when I was giving her resistance, saying I'm never going to meditate, I'm in control of everything, I've made all this myself, she said, what if I could raise your awareness when to buy or sell? That made me curious. So you can only be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than you, plants, animals, sound, light, then thought. The thought that vibrates the fastest is the truth. So elevate your awareness, not just by meditating, but finding something that raises your frequency in the beginning of the day so that you can set a baseline of your highest frequency or your potential, or your truth. And if you do that by, working out or, watching Instagram or whatever sets you at the highest frequency, do that. But eventually practice meditation, breathing, Head Start, whatever you want to use, Headspace, I'm sorry. Whatever you want to use, it's a practice. Meditation I've been doing for 13 years. I'm much better at it than I was when I first started. I didn't even really get it when I first started. I'm like, what's supposed to happen? But it had really, the idea of finding my higher self and pursuing my potential and finding my highest frequency has changed my life because it's elevated my awareness. And because my awareness is elevated, it allows me to elevate others, which then again elevates myself.
Awesome. So one thing I noticed you said there was within meditation, kind of like the biggest benefit from it is elevating that awareness throughout your life. So besides from meditation, you said there are other ways that people can elevate their awareness, and I'm assuming it's different varying from person to person, or what does that, kind of look like in your life, and what does that maybe look like an example in somebody else's life?
It's about a matter of vibration. So it's a matter of feeling good. So in other people's lives, it could be, being alone and meditating. Other people just being in a group of people. Some people it's reading. Some people it's podcasts. Some people it's swimming. Some people it's jogging. It just doesn't matter. Yeah. Anything that elevates your vibration gives you a higher frequency, allows you to be more aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than you.
So what's the simplest way somebody can tell when their vibration has been elevated?
Simplest way is the way they feel, right? So one, if you're happy, your vibration is elevated. You also, when you really learn, your actually cellular structure, sometimes if you ever get really excited, you actually feel hot, you heat up, you actually feel a tingly feeling, right? Yeah. That's a key indication that you're elevating your own vibration. But happiness is really the way you feel. Absolute is the key indicator of how fast you're vibrating.
Awesome. Love it. Okay, so we're wrapping up here, and I like to ask 2 questions. And the first one to all my guests that I ask is, what is advice that you hear often, but you personally think is bad? So, there's a lot of different advice on Instagram. Sometimes I see some and I'm like, I don't know if young people should do that. But what from David Meltzer do you think is overplayed and not good advice?
I think that this advice that, you can will, like money buys happiness, like money's so important. I think they're giving you the wrong idea. And, people are standing in front of cars they don't own, houses they don't own. They're telling you, that, they've made all this money. Today had seen like these mentors about, he's going to tell you about financial literacy. And it's like, this guy's never really made any money. You know what I mean? Like I've made money. I've lost it too. And I'm completely honest and illuminating about how much money I've lost. But I've made it and I've made it back, right? I know how to make money, but
That's
money doesn't
key,
buy happiness. It doesn't buy love, but it gives you, the option to buy things. And if you buy the right things, you'll be happy. And if you buy the wrong things, you won't. And a lot of people don't need to buy very much to be happy. So, I think there's a lot of bad advice about money out there, and people are chasing dreams of other people that have never even happened.
Yeah, true. I literally know people who rent private jets, and I'm like, for e-commerce stuff. So I don't know. That definitely does get under my skin a bit too. But the last question I have here is, even with all the success you've had as an individual, as a family man, as an entrepreneur, there's still always shortcomings in our own lives, as you even pointed out earlier in the episode. So with that being said, what's the biggest thing that you're trying to improve upon right now or change in your life or business?
I think it's this thing that I would go back and tell myself when I was 18 to work on, and it's humility. Everyone has an ego. I think I could change the world if I could invent one thing, an egoectomy, to take out the need to be right, the need to be offended, the need to be separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty. All of these feelings that I've talked about create an interference and corrosion to the most powerful source of energy, light, and lessons that I'm always connected to. And so I'm really working on statistically living more in the truth consciousness, at peace, and the majesty of calmness. but yet, like I said, every day I forget all the lessons that I teach, let alone the ones I've learned. I forget to be gracious all the time. I forget to be forgiving. I forget to be accountable. And I definitely forget that I can't live in ego, that I can't accelerate in a trajectory I don't want to go in. And all those needs of the ego to be right and offended, separate, inferior, superior, scared, angry, anxious. Look, it's just a waste of energy. And so I'm working really hard to be a better person, a better me, a higher self, by working through radical humility so I can be more kind to my future self and do more good deeds.
I love that. Say, do something today that you'll thank yourself tomorrow for, right?
You got it, my friend. You are wise beyond your years, Gav.
I appreciate it very much, David. It was awesome having you on. And where's the best place for the listeners to follow up with you at?
2 places. If you guys can text me at 949-298-2905, 949-298-2905. Let me know the most impactful things. I don't have a real good guide on, I got 3 teenage daughters, but I don't got a good guide on what impacts or what really resonates with you. It's not what I say, it's what you hear. So if you can go ahead and text the most impactful thing, that'd be great. Otherwise, at David Meltzer on YouTube, LinkedIn, dmeltzer.com is my website. Go ahead, reach out, share with your friends. Please, I'm looking always to share my good deeds myself, but remember, you're never too early to be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Thank you, everybody.
And that is a wrap, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show. David definitely dropped some knowledge on this podcast, so I highly encourage you to go reach out to him at his phone number, which is 949-298-2905. And that number is kind of like his community number, right, where everyone can text him. So he does check that, though. It's not just his team. I know David and how he treats his relationships with people who respect his time, and he wants to respect your time, and check that out too. So he might not get back to you right away. Like, clearly there's lots of people reaching out to him, but I feel like it's always good to connect with people when you can in those scenarios, and I know he'd appreciate it a lot. With that being said, the top 3 takeaways from this episode for me personally, in my opinion, the first one, in no particular order, being with content. I know we talked about something and like why people don't take action on content. Even though they're consuming the right content, how come they don't take action? And one thing I thought was valuable and I was pondering and thinking about was, with content, it takes a minimum of 21 days to create a habit. And we're hearing, even from the same entrepreneur or entrepreneurs, multiple different tactics, sometimes a day, definitely multiple in the span of a week. So when you're trying to create a habit, and it takes 21 days to create a habit, and habits are what make lasting change in your life, and you consume this content because you want lasting change. When you observe, like, let's even go on the low end and just say 15 different things a day of different habits that you should implement to make your life better. And this isn't, one thing I want to say too, this isn't putting on more time and giving you less free time. These habits can simply be swapping out time with stuff that isn't productive with stuff that is. Or like David, he just says cancel after a negative thought. That doesn't take him more time. It's just swapping out the time of, normally that would just be like space of him still being angry, but he's like, cancel that out. I don't want to be angry, right? So consume less content and practice more. If you know something's going to help you, make it a priority, even if that's the priority for the next 21 days. Like that, I'll get into later on how impactful that can be in the third point I have here, but that's my first one that I really was pondering and talking about what David said. And that's something that I kind of came to the conclusion to in my own life. And I have deleted Instagram lately and Snapchat, YouTube. I've just been going on Instagram. I deleted Facebook, basically all socials, Facebook, TikTok. I deleted Instagram and I re-downloaded it to check my DMs for, replies from different people who are interested in being on the podcast, different people who may reach out to me, just so that way I make sure I'm still providing them value and answering any questions they may have, which leads me to my second point, which is really provide value before asking. A lot of times, like whenever it's something personal, I feel like once my time becomes more scarce, it'll probably start to go a little less away from what I'm saying now. But with stuff that's more personal, like, hey, I'm dealing with this in my life, can you help me? I'm always happy to help. I always try very much to basically reassure that person that they are going to be good, but they're not going to be good if they don't do anything, and this is what they can do to become better, right? If I know. If I don't know, I'll say I don't know. But when it comes to business, especially, there's a good amount of people, and I'm not famous, and there's a good amount of people that ask me for business advice without providing any value. And I don't look at those people poorly, but I just know that when people do provide me value first and then they ask for something and they're okay if I reject them, their life will go on. But if they ask for something after providing value, those are the people I'm super generous with, and I really peel back the curtains and give away the secrets that I've obtained, right? And it's the same thing with other people, other entrepreneurs and whatnot, especially if you're getting paid. I can't speak for every entrepreneur, but I know like the legit ones, not like the guys who buy fake jets. Those guys literally will take your money and they won't give a shit if you just fall off the face of the earth the next day, won't even reach out to you if you agreed on, training for 2 months, whatever it is, they don't care. They're just all about their money. And then when they get a call with you, they want to be quick and get off. You want to talk to the people that have had so much money, they don't even care about your money for coaching. They just like coaching. Those are the people you want to get coaching from. It's not easy, but being great isn't easy, right? Being successful in whatever it is isn't easy. So whatever, that's not even a factor that should be really. Anything worth having is not easy. I shouldn't say anything, but a lot of things, right? And with that being said, the third point I have, biggest takeaway from this is you want to train habits are good for you as if you were training for a marathon. And what I mean by this is, I think David's exact terms were, do something that's like generous to yourself tomorrow. I messed that up a little, but something similar to that. Basically, I have a similar phrase I like to use a lot. It's do something today that you'll thank yourself tomorrow for. Or that yourself, tomorrow will thank you for. So basically though, if you are training for a marathon, or if you're training in the gym and you're serious about it, you're going consistently, you're showing up. Consistency is huge, right? That's not one thing David hit on, but if you listen to his message, which I highly recommend you go to his Instagram and check out his stuff, that's a huge thing he talks about, is consistency and showing up. And if you're not consistently showing up because you can't physically see, like when you're going to the gym, you can physically see if you're starting to get out of shape. You can see if you're, starting to get yoked, ripped, fit, whatever you're trying to get. But you can't see that with your brain, right? You can't see that with your well-being necessarily. You can start to feel the effects, but that's after it's already seen it, right? Like when you start to gain some weight, you don't feel that at first, but once you gain more weight, you're like, shit, So if you're training for a marathon, you have to be consistent. You have to show up and do focused work. There's no shortcuts to become better for that marathon. You have to, put in the work, do the proper training, have the proper recovery, the proper sleep, the proper food. And the same thing comes to your personal habits and training your mind. That whole cancel thing that David does, I guarantee if he doesn't take that seriously, it falls apart within a month, right? I mean, like he said, he has to do it for 21 days straight. Not 21 days total, but 21 days straight before really forming a real habit, okay? So it's very, very important to train to train your habits as if you were training for a marathon. So with that being said, guys, I appreciate you so much for listening to the show. If you got value from it, it means the world to me if you dropped a 5-star review and hit up David and just let him know that you appreciate it, because I appreciate his time greatly, and I'm sure you did as well if you took something away from this episode. So I hope you guys have a nice rest of your day and you crush it. Peace out.